Snow falls into the sea. That is the first thing that feels wrong. Not drifting gently, not melting away, but sinking, vanishing into the black water as if the ocean is swallowing it whole. The fishing vessel moves slowly between towering mountains that rise straight out of the sea, their jagged peaks hidden behind low, choking clouds. The water is unnaturally calm, dark as oil, reflecting nothing. No stars, no moon, just snow, falling endlessly, thickening the silence. The people on board do not speak much anymore. They came here for shelter, driven off course by a storm that tore their radios apart and shredded their sails like paper. The mountains offered protection, or so they thought. A narrow passage between frozen cliffs, a place to wait until daylight, until help. But the longer they drift here, the more the cold feels intentional, as if the mountains themselves are breathing out winter, exhaling it slowly into their bones. Footsteps crunch on the snow-covered deck. Each sound feels too loud. The air is so still it presses against their ears. One man peers over the side, staring into the water, and swears he sees movement beneath the surface. Long, pale shapes sliding just out of view. When he blinks, they're gone. He doesn't mention it. None of them mention the things they think they see anymore. From the mountains, a sound drifts down. Not wind. A low, distant cry, stretched and distorted, echoing between cliffs. It doesn't sound human, but it carries something familiar. Pain, maybe, or hunger. The group freezes. Snow gathers on their shoulders as they listen. The sound comes again, closer now, bouncing from rock to rock until it surrounds them. They decide to anchor. Bad decision. The moment the anchor chain rattles into the water, the sea responds. Ripples spread outward in perfect circles. The snow begins to fall harder. Visibility drops to nothing. The mountains fade into looming black shapes, watching. Someone laughs nervously, then stops when no one joins in. That's when they hear footsteps, not on the ship, on the ice, across the water, along the shoreline where snow-covered rock meets the sea. Shapes move there, tall, thin silhouettes gliding between falling snowflakes. They move too smoothly, no slipping, no hesitation. Their limbs bend at wrong angles, joints shifting like they're made of something other than bone. One of the figures stops, tilts its head, and the sound it makes crawls straight into the mind, an imitation of a human voice trying to remember how speaking works. A whisper echoes across the water, carrying a name. One of the crew stiffens. That was his name. No one here said it. The engine refuses to start. Panic spreads quietly. No screaming, just the sharp sound of breathing, fog puffing into the freezing air. The snow is piling up now, covering footprints, erasing proof that anyone was ever here. A woman grips a flare gun so tightly her fingers bleed, but her eyes never leave the shoreline. The shapes are closer. They step into clearer view, and the truth becomes unavoidable. Their skin is pale as snow but stretched tight over elongated bodies. Faces are wrong, too smooth, too empty, mouth splitting open wider than any jaw should. Dark holes where eyes should be, reflecting the faint light from the ship like deep wells. One of them lowers itself toward the water. It does not sink. It walks across the surface of the sea, each step sending gentle ripples outward, snow collecting on its shoulders and never melting. Another follows, then another. The people back away, pressing into each other, the ship suddenly feeling very small, very fragile. A scream breaks free when the first creature reaches the hull. Its fingers, too many joints, too long, drag slowly along the metal, producing a sound like ice scraping bone. It leans close, its mouth opening, releasing warm breath that steams against frozen air. Inside that mouth, something moves, shifting like smaller shapes trying to get out. Someone fires the flare. Red light explodes across the water, painting the mountains in blood and shadow. The creatures recoil, not in pain but confusion. The light disturbs them, makes their forms ripple and blur, as if they don't fully belong in brightness. The people seize the moment, scrambling, shouting, trying the engine again. Coughs. Once, twice. The creatures scream. Not loud, but deep, vibrating through the water and rock. The mountains answer back. Snow begins to slide from the cliffs in slow, heavy sheets. An avalanche starts to form, not rushing, but creeping downward like something choosing its moment. The engine roars to life. The ship lurches forward, tearing free from the anchor with a violent snap. The creatures rush now, movements jerky and fast, splashing across the sea's surface, claws reaching. One leaps, landing on the deck with a wet, hollow sound. Up close, it smells of salt and rot and old ice. Turns its head, studying them, learning. His mouth opens, and this time the voice is clearer. Speaks in fragments, stolen words, mimicking fear. Someone swings a metal bar, striking its shoulder. The impact sends a shock through the deck, and through the creature's body, as if it's connected to the ship itself. It shrieks. The sound triggers the avalanche. Snow and ice thunder down the mountainside, crashing into the sea, sending waves rolling toward the ship. The creature loses balance, sliding, clawing, then vanishes over the edge, dragged into the water below. The others retreat, slipping back toward the shadows, their cries fading into the storm of falling snow. The ship escapes the passage just as the mountains collapse inward, sealing the narrow channel behind them in ice and stone. Silence returns. Only the engine hums now. Only breath. Only the slow realization that some of the crew are missing. No blood. No struggle. Just empty spaces where people stood moments ago. Hours later, far from the mountains, the snow finally stops. The sea looks normal again. Too normal. As dawn approaches, someone notices footprints on the deck. Half melted, leading nowhere. And below the water, far beneath the hull, pale shapes move lazily, keeping pace, patient. The mountains are gone behind them, but the creatures are not. They never were. The ship does not slow. It should. Any sane crew would cut the engine, reassess, breathe. But no one suggests it. The water behind them still churns faintly, disturbed by shapes that refuse to surface. And everyone on deck feels the same unspoken truth settling in their chests. Stopping would mean being found again. The cold grows sharper as the hours pass. Not the clean bite of winter, but a damp, penetrating chill that creeps through layers of clothing and sinks into muscle. Snow begins falling again. Not thick, not heavy. Just enough to coat the railings and blur the horizon. The sky remains a dull, unbroken gray, pressing low, giving the sense that the world has shrunk to the ship and the water beneath it. Someone finally speaks. They say they hear something beneath the hull. At first it sounds like imagination, just the low groan of metal flexing as the ship cuts through cold water. But then it happens again. A slow, deliberate scrape, running along the underside of the vessel, as if something massive is pacing them, studying the shape of the ship with blind curiosity. The sound repeats. Closer, longer. The captain orders everyone below deck. They descend into narrow corridors lit by flickering emergency lights. Shadows stretch unnaturally along the walls, bending where they shouldn't. The air smells of oil and salt and fear. Every footstep echoes too loudly, bouncing through the ship as if the walls themselves are listening. Then the lights flicker out completely. Darkness swallows them whole. For a few seconds, maybe longer, there is nothing but breathing. Someone whimpers. Someone else whispers a prayer they don't remember learning. Then the lights return, dimmer now, and with them comes a new sound. Knocking. Not mechanical. Not random. 3 slow impacts against the hull. Pause. 3 more. Whatever is outside understands rhythm. The knocking moves, travels along the ship's side, testing, learning, until it reaches the bow. The metal there bends inward slightly with each strike, the hull groaning in protest. Frost spreads across the interior walls, crawling outward from the impact points like veins of white rot. One of the crew notices water dripping from the ceiling. It's not seawater. It's thick, dark. It stains the floor where it lands, steaming faintly in the cold air. The drip becomes a trickle. The trickle becomes a slow, steady leak, and with it comes a smell briny, ancient, wrong. A scream erupts from the rear corridor. They run toward it, slipping, crashing into each other. At the far end, they find the door to the cargo hold standing open, ice creeping along its edges. Inside, the darkness feels deeper, heavier, like it has weight. Something moves. A shape unfolds itself from the shadows. Tall, hunched, its body slick with moisture. Its skin is the same pale color as the snow, but translucent, stretched thin enough to reveal slow-moving shapes beneath, as if something else is trapped inside it, pressing outward. Its limbs drag along the floor, joints bending backward, fingers ending in blunt, ice-crusted points. Tilts its head. Its mouth opens, and from it comes the sound of wind howling through mountain passes, mixed with the unmistakable echo of a human scream. Someone fires another flare. The red light fills the cargo hold, revealing more shapes behind the first, dozens of them, clinging to the walls and ceiling, merging with frost and shadow. They recoil as one, bodies shuddering, retreating deeper into darkness, but not fleeing. Waiting, the flare burns out, darkness rushes back in, and something grabs the man holding the gun. He is pulled backward so fast his boots leave the floor. His scream cuts off abruptly, replaced by a wet, tearing sound. When the others rush forward, there is nothing left but drag marks leading into the dark, and those marks freeze solid before their eyes. They seal the cargo hold. Bolt after bolt slides into place, metal shrieking as frost fights them every inch of the way. The knocking returns immediately, harder now, furious, the entire ship shuddering with each impact. The engine stutters. Outside, the sea begins to change. Waves rise where there were none before, rolling unnaturally, moving against the wind. The snow thickens, swirling sideways, erasing distance. Mountains begin to appear again on the horizon. Different from before, sharper, closer, as if the ship is being guided back toward them despite its course. The compass spins wildly. The radio crackles to life without warning. At first it's static. Then a voice breaks through, low, distorted, layered, as if multiple throats are speaking at once. It repeats coordinates. The captain recognizes them with growing dread. They lead straight back into the mountains. Someone smashes the radio. The voice continues anyway, bleeding through the speakers, through the walls, through their heads. The ship turns, not sharply, not suddenly, but gradually, obediently, its bow angling toward the frozen silhouettes rising from the fog. Below deck, the knocking stops. That is worse. A long silence settles, broken only by the creak of the ship and the distant crash of ice against water. Frost spreads faster now, coating pipes, sealing doors shut. Breath becomes visible indoors. One woman collapses, her lips blue, whispering that she can hear singing. They all can. It drifts through the ship softly, carried on no identifiable